Well, good morning on this rainy Sunday morning. It's good to see so many of you up and about this morning. And I don't know about you, but it's the reality is starting to kick in with me a little bit, that it's 3 weeks till Christmas. Anybody feeling that? I mean, seriously, I know, super, super fast. If you're our guest here this morning, we welcome you. We're so glad that you've chosen to worship with us. We know you have many choices and places to worship. It's an honor to have you as our guest. We have a free t-shirt that we give our guests. You can tell people that you came to church and all you got was a lousy t-shirt. But we hope that you'll get a little more from that if you're with us this morning. For those of you that are here, if you would, just pay attention to the announcement sheet that you were given. Inside of it, it has an info card. This is a place where you fill your information out. And you might feel it's not really important for you to do it, but it is important for you to do it. We have lots of people that we have to keep track of, and people that we want to pray for and know what's going on. Just make sure you're faithful to fill that out and drop that in the offering bucket. If you're our guest, don't put any information that makes you feel uncomfortable or weird. We promise we won't follow you, but we would love to have a record of your visit. As we get started this morning, I just want to share with you that yesterday we had a mission conference here, our Activate Mission Conference. It was a great day. Anybody in here that was there? Raise your hand if you're yes. Several of you, yes, in this room, yay. They were there, and we're really discerning what God would have us to do at Heritage Church and the community around us. Some wonderful God things are bubbling up. Occasionally you'll hear about a mission meeting. Anyone's welcome to come to those any times that you want, but we want you to know this, that our heartbeat as a church will always be to reach those who are far from God. Make no mistake about it, everything we do will run through that lens, and you are sitting in a place where if you really want to make a difference in the world around you, we have some wonderful people whose hearts are just equally as passionate as that, and together we can really make it happen. So, as I said, we're 3 weeks away from Christmas, and we're going to kick off our newest Christmas series. I guess it's our newest series, but it's our Christmas series all in one, right? But as we do, let's start with the word of prayer. Would you pray with me, please? God, we love you. And God, you are such a good God. And God, in the busyness of our lives, we can forget that. And God, I ask that if nothing else this morning, we're reminded how you truly are Emmanuel. You are God who is with us. God, I pray that you would guide this church, that you would set your people on fire for reaching the world with the life-changing message of the power of the love of Jesus Christ. God, I pray the Spirit would fall. I pray that people would hear, not from me this morning, God, but that they would hear a word from you. And God, help all of us to be mindful and to be intentional this Christmas season. And together we all say, Amen. So at Christmas 3 weeks ago, I was thinking this week about how many Christmases I've gotten to celebrate. Y'all know your age, right? So you think about how many Christmases that you've been given, and if you were to ask yourself what happened at Christmas 17, or Christmas 22, or Christmas 29, and that's where I'm stopping, right? Wherever it may be, whatever that, Christmas just kind of comes as a blur, doesn't it? What could happen if in the midst of the hustle and bustle and the stress and the mess and the planning and the preparation and the panic, what could happen if we could be intentional this Christmas? What if our list was less to do and more how to be at Christmas this year? What if at the very top of all our Christmas list was one name, the name of Jesus? Now, as we go through Christmas together, we go through the Advent season together. Some of you, raise your hand if you were raised in a church where they celebrated Advent. Raise your hand. Oh, a good majority of you. You know what it is, but a lot of people weren't raised in a church where they celebrated this concept of Advent. The word Advent means coming. And what that means is during the Christmas season, you know what we're supposed to do as followers of Christ? Catch this. We're supposed to slow down. We're supposed to slow down and ponder the coming of the Messiah. The first coming, where he came to earth in the form of baby Jesus, and we're also called to ponder that our Jesus will come once again. In the midst of Advent, there are some themes that we are to discuss. We're supposed to talk about hope and joy and peace and love, and all those things are a big part of our Christmas season. Now, this morning we're going to be talking about hope. Now, I know that a lot of us need a dose of hope in our lives right now. And really, if we're honest, when I throw the word hope, I bet you there's someone sitting here this morning going, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not really feeling it. I'm just really not feeling hope. And there's a lot of reasons why that could happen. I mean, we live in a world where things seem pretty hopeless to us, don't they? I mean, sometimes things can seem hopeless in our personal lives just because of our circumstances. Maybe some of you, anybody in here happy that 2016 is going to be over in a few, yeah, a lot of like, get this year over with. Our circumstances have not been, maybe we've had a rough time in our job, maybe we're having a rough time with our finances, maybe we've had trouble in our relationships, or maybe we're just feeling lost. Maybe we're not even feeling that God is with us, and it's so easy to begin to feel hopeless in the midst of our circumstances. Sometimes we feel hopeless because we feel devalued. We feel like we don't really have any value. Somebody along the way has told us less than. Somebody's made us feel like we're less than. We feel like we can never measure up, and it's really easy to begin to feel hopeless and feel the weight of that, and it weighs us down. We can feel hopeless because of our expectations. I mean, people put a lot of expectations on us, don't they? Can I get an amen? Yeah, but you know what? We put a lot of expectations on ourselves too, don't we? And sometimes it just feels like in our life it's failure after failure after failure. And sometimes we just want to look to them and say, God, can you give me a break? Right? And so we just feel so hopeless. And then we can feel hopeless because of our fears. You know, I'm a big news buff. I used to be the girl who always read the paper, the whole thing. I love the newspaper. Now it stinks, so I finally quit carrying it. It's not any good. Newspapers are gone. But I still watch the 5 o'clock news every day. I TiVo it and watch it at 10 o'clock or whatever. You know, I was watching the news the other day, and I was thinking, Michael and I were having a conversation. It was like, you know, the news is story after story after story after story of awful thing, this to be afraid of. Be afraid of the airplane. Be afraid of your seatbelt. Be afraid of the terrorists. Be afraid of the government. Afraid. No wonder we're hopeless and we're fearful, right? And then at the very, very end of the news every night, I don't know if you ever noticed this, they always have one little feel-good story. What would happen if we had feel-good, and then let's feel bad, right? So we can feel hopeless about those things. And then I think a lot of times we feel hopeless because we are forgetful people. We forget that we do have a God with us, in us and for us. We forget all the good things God's done in our past. We forget that He's right here in the midst of the mess with us, and that we have a God who's going on with us into the future. And then, I think sometimes we feel awful and hopeless because of obligation. How many of you sometimes just feel burdened by the weight of all the have-tos? You know, I have to get this gift. I have to go to this event. I have to I have to do all these things, all these have-tos. It's so easy for us to feel hopeless. But when we feel hopeless, we're not going to be able to have this intentional Christmas we're talking about. You see, to do something intentionally is to be purposeful, to have purpose and to say, you know what? This year, my Christmas is going to be different. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And the reason that we get caught up in the trap and the hustle and the bustle and all that is we're allowing the world to tell us as followers of Christ what Christmas is, instead of allowing Jesus to tell us how Christmas should be. You see, if we're going to have an intentional Christmas, we need to think of this word incarnational. Now that's a big theological word. And all that really means is that God put on flesh and came to the world in the form of a little bitty baby. Now I have a little bitty baby in my life right now. Y'all might not have heard about that or not, but yeah, I have a little bitty baby in my life, and she's pretty helpless. And it was kind of an amazing thing that a God, marvel at that. That God wanted us to know that He was so for us and He loved us so much that He sends a baby into the world. This helpless baby. Do you not feel a sense of mystery? Why a baby? Don't you want to say? A wonder? Really? A baby? It's kind of scandalous, this grace that comes upon us, this ignorance. The Word was made flesh and came to dwell among us. That's some pretty exciting news to have an intentional Christmas. But I'm no better than anybody else in here. You know, I can get to become Christmas, and my brain can be like, my brain can think this, man, I can't wait till Christmas is over. Anybody ever think that? Oh, man, I can't wait. And so I've been thinking about this intentional Christmas a lot, and as you often do, God kind of takes you through your paces as you're going to talk about something. And this past weekend, I had on Friday, I was asked to be a part of a group of people who are doing an undercover documentary on the city of Huntsville. And in this documentary, a couple of people that I know had chosen to spend the week on the streets as homeless people. And so my job on Friday was to go along with the cameraman and watch what's happening. I'm feeling like a little kind of like, attitude-y, because Fridays I'm not supposed to work on Fridays. You're not supposed to be, you ever had a day off and someone wants to take your day off, right? So kind of like I really, don't want to go. And there's all these crowds, all these Christmas shoppers, and we're all out and all this stuff. And then in the midst of it, I got to experience this beautiful hope story. You see, the Christmas story is a story of hope. But the truth is, there are hope stories going on all around in our world, all around us. So my friends, they're dressed up as homeless people. And we're sitting in a coffee shop, and they've got their backpacks, and they're dirty, and they smell. And I'm sitting there, and my job is just kind of watching to see what people do. The guys don't say anything to anybody, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just observing. They go through the line, they ask the person who's selling the coffee how much the cup of coffee, what's your cheapest cup of coffee? They said it's $1.60. And they only left when they went on the streets with $5, and each of them had $5, 5 $1 bills in their pocket, because the bus token in Huntsville was $1. And so as they're in line and they're waiting, they kind of go through the line, they go sit down with their backpacks, their big old backpacks are sitting there, and I see this, I'm just watching, and nothing's happening, and I'm thinking, nothing's going to happen, nobody cares. I'm watching, and this lady comes charging off the line with a little girl in her hand, and she walks over to where they're sitting, and she puts cash on the table, and she slides it over to them. And then she walks out the door. Wow, that's a story of hope. And you think that would be enough. I started to tear up as I watched. And then I saw a woman get out of her car, and she was heading into the coffee shop. And as she headed in, she can see kind of through the window where these guys are sitting right by the window. And I watch her, and she reaches into her purse, you guys, and she opens up her purse, and she's pulling out money as she's walking in the door. She walks straight over to him, hands one of them, hands another one, $1. There's a woman over there, an English professor at UAH. She's working on her homework. She turns around and she strikes a conversation with these men. And then finally, there's a lady named Tammy. And Tammy walks into the coffee shop, and she sees them to her right. She goes in line to the coffee shop, buys them food, takes it over with them, sits down, has a conversation, shares with them. She's going through a divorce. She's not really in the Christmas spirit, but she wanted them to know that they're not alone. And so afterwards, we leave the coffee shop, and we're standing on the side of the road, and I had on a flannel shirt because, I didn't want to look, conspicuous or anything while I'm, hanging out with my homeless friends, and we're just kind of standing there. We're going to go to another site with lots of different sites to do the documentary. And all of a sudden, this car comes up with young people in it, and I'm standing there, and I guess I must have looked homeless. I don't know. I was the homeless girl with them. But they walk by, and they hand me these wadded up $1 bills, and they said, go get some lunch. I think the truth of the matter is this. I was so moved by how good people really are. And it reminded me that there are hope stories around us all the time. I don't think we're looking for them. I heard somebody say once that we see what we want to see. So if we want to see the negative in this world, guess what we'll see? We'll see the negative. But if we look for the good, if we look for the hope, it's all around us. And there's no more powerful hope story than the story of a God who loved you, who loved the world, who loved me enough to send his son into our mess. And that's the story we're going to look at this morning from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2. I want to share. It starts out this way. In verse 1, it says, in those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went out from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. You see that these people at this time, the people who've been waiting centuries for Jesus to come, all these prophecies that told him he was coming, that a wonderful counselor, a mighty Prince of Peace was coming, and they had waited for years and years, and he's about to be here, but in the midst of it, they're feeling a little hopeless, like we might feel about our government right now. Anybody feel a little hopeless sometimes? Yes, some of us, we don't even know what's going to happen. There's so much unrest. That's how they felt. They were underneath the regime of the Romans. They had been attacked. They had been held captive. They felt like they were in siege, and everything looked hopeless. But then a God full of hope breaks through. He breaks through, and when he breaks through, he's going to break through in a big way, and there's going to be a new king, and we don't have to worry about the government, and we don't have to worry about the government in our world as well, right? Because we know who the real king is, right? It's not who our president is. Can I please get an amen? Jesus is the king of this world. We don't have to be people of fear. And so here they sit in their circumstance. Their circumstance is one in which they're under somebody else's rule. They're filled with fears. Are these people going to destroy us? Are we still going to be able to see our Messiah? And they've forgotten. They've forgotten that our God is always present, and he's going to send this Messiah. And they don't have to fear the government. You know, we see what we want to see. But it's more than that. There's a family. There's a family of Joseph and Mary. And it tells us this, that Joseph went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. And while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. That baby would grow up. That baby would teach us what love is. That baby would show us how to love others. That baby would go to a cross for the sins of the world. And there's only 2 verses that tell of this birth when he came into this world. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. I imagine Mary and Joseph felt a little hopeless. They were poor. They were in disgrace. She was a woman who was pregnant and wasn't married. They were powerless. They didn't have the money to pay to stay. They felt so hopeless. But then our God breaks through with the power of this incarnation. And when he does, all of a sudden, if you look at it a different way, they could be so hopeful, couldn't they? Because while they had nothing, they had everything. They were the family that God had chosen to bring his son, Jesus, into the world. And so their circumstances, to look at them, didn't look so great. And their fears, they probably had many fears. But I don't think Mary and Joseph had forgotten that God was with them. You see, in our lives, we see what we want to see. And our story goes on. And there were shepherds living in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of God shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people." The most hopeful message ever said was said in those words to those angels. But you know, these shepherds, they felt like a lot of us. They felt pretty hopeless. They were despised. Shepherds was not an admirable profession in their world. They were despised. A lot of people thought they were thieves because they'd take the sheep by and let them eat out of your yard without asking. Right? They were outcasts. I mean, nobody wanted to be around shepherds. They were the broken. They were the marginalized. They were the oppressed. They were powerless. And things might have looked hopeless to them in the world, in their circumstance. They had to think, I'm just a shepherd. I'm an outcast. No one wants anything to do with me. Their fears had to be great. Will we be able to survive out here? And I imagine those shepherds thought that God had forgotten them. But he didn't, you see, because our God is a hopeful God. And when God broke through, everything changed for those shepherds. You see, no one would have believed that the shepherds would be the one that would get to go tell the world that the king was born. But that's how our God works. So no matter where you are, no matter how hopeless you feel, you've got to be able to drum up some hope in you and know that God uses the broken. God uses the pain in our lives. God uses the conflict, and God uses us to get his message of his son out to the world in desperate need. You see, we see what we want to see. And this Christmas story, for so many of us, it could be like, blah, blah, yeah, I've heard it before, and I think we need to hunker down and listen to the power of this story and think about this God who sent his son to us at Christmas. Michael and I believe it's so important that every Sunday of this month we're going to spend some time in this story. We need to be intentional about it. Our story continues. It says, today. I love that it has today. Everything changes today. And I want you to know just how everything changed for the world the day Jesus was born. Everything can change in your world today if you will understand that this God is a God who is incarnate, who is within all of us. Well, that's not really
My bad.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you. I have a scripture here. That's his flashlight. Anyway, it says today. Okay, good. It says today a child is born unto you, right? And then the angels say, "Glory to God on the highest, peace on earth and goodwill toward men." You see, we see what we want to see. And sometimes, if the truth be told, we're in a little bit of darkness, aren't we? Yeah. We see what we want to see. So how can we be more hopeful people? Well, we can be more hopeful people a couple different ways, and I want to share those with you today. One of them is we can be more aware. And what that means is, I'm good. We can be more aware, and what that, unless you want to shine a flashlight on me or something. We can be more aware. And what that means to us is that I would like for all of us to take our spiritual temperature. I mean, what is your temperature when it comes to Christmas? Are you so bogged down by the things of this world that you're not even thinking about the spiritual life and what's happening in our midst? Another thing that we can do is we can learn to connect. The older I get, the more I am convinced that life is all about relationships. And I am so regretful of the times when I've been too busy to invest in relationships. When we go to leave this earth, all we have are those relationships. And too many times, we're not really concerned with connecting with somebody, we're more concerned with correcting somebody. But we can have common ground with anybody. And as you're going through your Christmas this year, think about how instead of buying presents, what if you invested in experiences with people? What if you bought tickets to a concert where you could go be with somebody instead of some stupid shirt that's going to be stuck in their drawer and nobody knows what it is in 2 months, right? And then what if this could be more hopeful at Christmas if we could learn to invest in others? You know, if we could pour into somebody. If we see a need, we decide we're going to meet it. You know, every year at Christmas, and now y'all need to make your list. But I don't know if you know this about Michael. Every year at Christmas, we look for somebody who has a big need. And that need might be tuition, it might be books, it might be a car, it might be an instrument for a musician, it might be, and we meet the need, whatever it is. And it's the most joyous thing we do every year for Christmas, looking for somebody who has a true need and meeting the need. And if you're a parent, please don't give your kids 50 million, 1,000 presents. That's not what they need. You can do like the 3 wise men thing, where they get one for each gift that baby Jesus got. You can do the thing where you get something you want, something you need, something to wear, something to read. Don't overflow your kids' Christmas with stuff. They won't remember the stuff, but they will remember being with you. If we're going to have a hopeful Christmas, we need to spend some time in silence. Kind of like how we're all sitting in silence this morning, right? When's the last time you just sat in your living room, let the lights on the tree down, and you reflected on the gift that God gave each of us at Christmas? The gift of Jesus in our midst. And then if we're going to be hopeful, we need to spend some time in reflecting. And we need to think about what are the good things in our life. Because you see, we see what we see, don't we? We all see what we see. What we're looking for is what we find. So oftentimes we don't sit around and reflect and just reflect and ask yourself this question: God, show me the good in my life. Don't show me all the things I'm missing. Show me the good in my life. Ask yourself, how is it with your soul? Reflect on that. That's how you have an intentional Christmas. And then finally, we need to think about if we really want to have a hopeful Christmas. To be full of hope instead of feeling hopeless is that you can add value. You are a value adder. You can add value to every person you need. I want to be real clear on this.
Everybody's looking for a friend. Can I get an amen? Everybody, I don't care how many friends you have, everybody's looking for a friend. You can be a friend to somebody. You can call out the good in somebody. And you know what you can do when you see the bad? You can keep your mouth shut, right? God's working on them. Let God work on that. You can learn something from somebody else. Everybody else is under encouragement. You know, the Bible tells us that we love others because God loved us first. God loved us so much. He didn't want us to live a hopeless existence. He wanted us to live a hopeful existence. And so He sent His Son to us at Christmas. And I was reminded about this just recently. I'm a documentary buff. I don't know if I've told y'all that before, but I am like a documentary nerd. Like I've never met a documentary I don't like. And I watched one the other night, and I thought it was going to be a documentary about cancer. It turned out it was a documentary about love and about hope. It was about a couple, and they got married, and they fell in love in this beautiful and wonderful way, and she got cancer. And so, you know, it documents their journey with cancer and what all they go through. And as they're going through, you know, she's talking to the camera, and she's talking about life, because we see what we want to see. And she says, you know, one thing this cancer has taught me is this. Yesterday, it's gone. It's done. There's nothing I can do about it. Tomorrow, it's not here. I have no idea what it's going to bring. She said, at the end of the day, all any of us really have is right now. And she said, she went on, and so they take her around, and they're looking for chemos, and they're looking for things, and she's calling different doctors, and she's talking to the doctors, and she keeps saying this to the doctors. She said, I need a hope story. And the doctor's like, well, you know, this chemo does this. And she said, no, I need a hope story. She said, can I have some numbers? Can I call some? She's intentional about it. Just like we need to be intentional to find the hope in our stories and the hope in the story of Jesus. So she's intentional. She's calling people, and she's saying, hey, on this chemo, tell me your story. Tell me your hope story. She was intentional about finding her hope story. And that's your next step this week. That one day this week, you will share your hope story. Because, see, we all have hope stories, don't we? Can I get an amen in the dark? Yeah. Amen. We all have hope stories. What would happen if we could share our hope stories? You see, Christmas is going to come this year. Don't miss it. Don't miss the opportunity to share a story of hope. Someone who's in desperate need of it. Don't miss Christmas this year. Be intentional. I'm done in the dark.